Well, I introduced myself as Miss Betty, and I am an esteemed elder within our country. I've been doing this work for many years, and I've been very honored to work with Werklund School of Education, being invited, um, I think about 6 years ago, where was in the classroom with Yvonne and worked with the Calls to Action, um, the master's program for educators. So what an experience when we talk about community members coming in to an institution like the university, myself, and being introduced where that my expertise is in the field of my language and my culture and all the knowledge and wisdom that I still continue to attain. That what an awesome experience, and I still continue to do that today. And wherever I can, I don't know if I want to say, I can't say. Well, community relationships with universities really do matter. And when we say, what does community engagement, how does it matter? Well, it matters. I mean, I was just listening to, as before I go on to something else, I was listening to um, Jennifer and Natalie. And then, but prior to that, the introduction was from Bridget and how that extended to from one community to another and to us now. That's what um, a community engagement means, that we come together um, to understand and advocate and support each other, um, from the University of Calgary community. When we build those relationships with community and how we engage, for me, it for me it's when we go into the community, some community we don't even know, and we go and we collaborate and we partnership, etc. Just think about the amount of youth that we're reaching within those communities. Maybe wouldn't have had that opportunity to be given to say, yeah, you can go university, you can do these things, you can be what I'm doing today. Um, for me, that's really huge. As you know, when they say, when we ask me what does community engagement matters, that's just a little bit of how much it matters to community.
What I what I was thinking of when you initially asked that question, I had thought about it earlier, but I think that it's really important to, first of all, acknowledge that we're coming from a history and a context um, of when research used to be done to our communities. And so part of my own work with so many others across the country began, I think, in the early 80s when we came together as part of an organization called Mokakit. The Blackfoot Nation will recognize that because it's a Blackfoot name, which meant excellence in education. And we came together, we were a very, very small group, but we came together across the country because we wanted to challenge the Eurocentric research paradigm that was applied to our communities and which often resulted in really deficit theorizing, as looking for the language, and it often resulted in the essentialization of Indigenous people and our communities. And we did not want to be a part of that. And so we came out swinging is how I want to say that. This small group of us, and that's like 40 years ago. And a lot has changed since then. So we're coming out of a context of colonization and the impact of that on our communities. And I just refuse to be a part of that story. And we, I think, now are, working hard to why this work matters, why community engagement matters, is that I think communities are, looking for the kind of support that will assist them in strengthening the capacity of their own communities. And I don't think we need to provide the answers for them. That's the other thing that I have learned through my connection worldwide, is that we have adopted a mantra of the answers lie within us. And all of the work I've done so far has lived that out. If you engage in ways that are respectful with the community, you will be astounded by the kind of learning that will result, not just you as researcher coming in, but the community as a whole. And as I say, I don't think you need to feel as academics going out to communities that you have to have the answer. I think together, by engaging with the community, you come up with the kinds of information, knowledge that the community is seeking, so it can address some of the challenges that it's facing as a result of colonization. So maybe I'll leave it there for now, but to me, it does matter. And I think universities are institutions that can provide that kind of support, much like governments should in 2021.
Rita, well said. I would have to say that that's been a huge journey. I often remind people, and have to remind myself constantly, that to be compassionate with ourselves and to be gentle. We're all in this journey, and we all, like little bits of information land with us at particular times. And that's been huge. Walking alongside and often behind Jennifer as she's put the proposals in for the research to kind of, dive into our beautiful communities has been such a gift and such a blessing. And it's really important to remember that I'm a visitor to this community. Even though I've lived here my whole life, it's a gift to be able to be here. And I really want to honor that gift. And I want to know as authentically and organically as possible what it is that the youth and the community want us to know as educators visiting their communities. And so it's amazing that we have this platform and group of phenomenal individuals that are able to do that with that complete objective lens. And it really is about, it's going in without that jaded view of here's the end product, right? Which, like I said, is sometimes very difficult for educators. We like to know that finished product so that we can work backwards from it. But being able to kind of say, I'm going to let go of that. Who knows where we're going to go in the end? We're going to let our community drive that. And my perception of what community engagement looks like is going to be very different than what the elders in the community and what the youth of the community want that experience to look like and want their engagement to look like. And we need to be 100% open to that end product being whatever it'll be.
Yeah, so grateful to be learning in this as part of this Werklund School of Education team from Miss Betty, from Rita, from Yvonne. This is a phenomenal experience for me, and an opportunity that I wouldn't have anywhere else, to be learning from such wise, strong advocates, educators. It's been just a real gift to me to be able to be learning from them in the work that I'm doing with communities and alongside them with the communities. So I would just want to begin with acknowledging that's to be on this type of team isn't necessarily what's done in other research projects, and I just really think that it is something that should be looked at as a model for creating really dynamic engagement and learning opportunities, even for academics, for up and coming emerging scholars. So I just appreciate that. And then to connect to what Ms. Betty said earlier about the connections, this work with communities is really about relationships. And so, we are always judged by our actions. And so, we have to be just authentic and honest and open-minded, and just coming in not as the experts of the communities we're engaging with. We're there to learn from them and to listen. And so that's a huge part of this process. And so working with communities sometimes works on a longer timeline than other research projects, where the questions are predetermined and the process is predetermined. Working with communities, we have to be open to all of the possibilities and the shifts and the directions that the research may take, and the partnership. So I think that's, those are important pieces to keep in mind when entering into this type of work. But it's so powerful, like what can come from these types of partnerships is really profound, and can be life-changing for people that are involved, as well as for the youth within the schools. That's a goal of many of these projects, is to make a difference in the lives of the Indigenous youth, and really all the youth that are part of the school divisions. And I think that this type of work has that tremendous potential, and doing it in the time that it takes and in a good way, we can really serve communities. So I'm just so honored to be part of this, and grateful for everyone speaking here today.
So from my perspective, I work at the Werklund School of Education, and I'm currently their Director of Indigenous Education. For me, community engagement as an academic, Métis academic at the Werklund School, really is about the university catching up. So Indigenous research has long recognized the need for the involvement of community. And so I remember, I'm a 3-time graduate of the University of Calgary, and I remember sitting in my undergraduate classes and then in my master's classes and listening to the ways in which Indigenous peoples were described and talked about in different resources and textbooks. And I remember thinking to myself, I wonder. So, being able to return to my mother and father's home community of Fishing Lake Métis settlement really allowed me to return to who I was. And so, having been schooled in a very colonial type curriculum, working within community has meant that I have gotten to know the strength, the beauty, the resilience of our Métis communities in northeastern Alberta. And now working within the University of Calgary and working with practicing and new teachers, I've come to see how others have been impacted by the beauty of the work that we've done. Rick and I worked together along with Susan Barthel back in 2009. We started the work in Fishing Lake Métis settlement. And the community itself had a lot of faith and trust, as you heard in Rick's intro. They had no idea what digital storytelling was all about, and they were really relying on their trust in me and they knew my relatives in the community, but they didn't really know me. And so as a new academic at the time, entering into my ancestral community, it really has meant the world to me in understanding who I am in the world. And that return to who I am has really allowed me now to give back to my community, to give back to you know, the university that I studied at. And it really means welcoming, embracing Indigenous knowledge traditions. I've been very honored to have Betty alongside of me teaching the Call to Action program. She brings us back to our ancestral traditional ways through the Cree language, her beautiful sharing of ceremonies in our classroom. And so it is through community engagement, I think, that you really get authentic learning experiences. And that's what really, I think, community engagement is to me. It is that relational, beautiful way of building connections beyond the walls of the university and out into the community, where education can really make a difference for all of us, including our children and grandchildren to come.